Hello and welcome to my League Starter build for Monks, Druids, and Warriors for the last of the Druids patch. This guide is meant for when you are first starting the league with absolutely nothing. There are no uniques used in this build for that reason, but you can definitely incorporate some if you find any along the way. This build is based around Shield Wall and works best on Warrior, but is viable on Monk and will definitely be viable on Druid since it is a strength intelligence based class. In this video, we will go over the skills and setups act by act throughout the campaign. Passive setups for both Monk and Warrior will be included after each act so you can see how to path. If you plan to league start Druid, path to similar nodes. Act 1 will be different depending on the class you start with since Shield Wall is not unlocked until level 22. So let's start with Monk. For Monk, we will use a Quarterstaff. Early setup uses Glacial Cascade and Frozen Locust. I pick up Frostbomb once I get an extra skill gem. The playstyle is simple. For crowd control, you will want to place a Frozen Locust on the ground and destroy it with your basic attack, Quarterstaff Strike. This will freeze and shatter nearby enemies. I also like to lead mobs into Frost Bombs I place on the ground. For bosses, use Glacial Cascade and Frost Bomb. You will have to find that sweet spot where Glacial Cascade ends so the boss gets hit by the tip of the ice. Damage will be slower, so take your time and focus on survivability. Support gem setup are as follows. For Frozen Locust, we use Magnified Area 1. For Glacial Cascade, we use Elemental Armament 1 and Rapid Attacks 1. Once we get our level 3 skill gem, grab Tempest Bell. Drop the Tempest Bell on rare monsters and bosses whenever necessary and spam Quarterstaff Strike. This will give you nice burst damage and kill surrounding enemies. Still continue to use Glacial Cascade if you are not confident on boss mechanics and for safer boss clears. As soon as you get your level 5 gem, immediately swap over to Ice Strike and don't look back. From here, we don't really use Glacial Cascade anymore except for range. Use the support gems from Glacial Cascade and input those into Ice Strike. Use Ice Strike in place of Quarterstaff Strike to destroy ice crystals and hit your Tempest Bell. This should be sufficient enough to get you to level 22. However, Act 1 can be quite difficult, so don't get discouraged and keep trying your best. Depending on your progression, you may unlock Ice Strike at the start of Act 2, as you can see from this clip. Now let's move on to Warrior. The setup is basic for Warrior. Once we get our first gem, we grab Bone Shatter. The Rolling Slam Bone Shatter combination can pretty much get you through the entire Act 1. The playstyle is to use Rolling Slam and then Bone Shatter your enemies. It is important to note that you can animation cancel your Rolling Slam with a Bone Shatter or Roll Dodge. You'll grab Infernal Cry once you get a level 3 gem to buff your Rolling Slams. You can pick up Perfect Strike once you get a level 5 gem, but it's not totally necessary. Support gem setups are as follows. Rolling Slam uses Fist of War and Rapid Attacks 1. Bone Shatter is Impact Shockwave. For Infernal Cry, you'll want to grab Tireless. Once you kill the King of the Mists in Act 1 and get your first Spirit Gem, you'll want to grab Herald of Ash if you're on Warrior and Herald of Ice if you're on Monk. Some quick tips for all league starters in Act 1 is to grab a one-handed shield and allocate shield charge once you can. You can put this in your weapon set too if you are using something like a quarterstaff, but this helps with overall movement and clear speed. You want to be constantly checking Renly for weapons as well. Every time you level up, the items change. Plus 1 or 2 to melee skills on your quarterstaff or your one-handed or two-handed mace are very good, along with things like increased physical or added damage like fire or lightning can also be helpful. For Druid or Monk, feel free to swap to a one-handed shield once you can and use the Rolling Slam Bone Shatter combination. However, if you are playing Druid, you can just focus on using one of the new animal forms to get through Act 1. I recommend using the Bear form along with Volcano, as the setup will transition nicely into Shield Wall in Act 2. This is a snapshot of the passes I had for both my Monk and Warrior after completing Act 1. Please feel free to pause the video. Progress through Act 2 until you hit level 22 the same way you were doing Act 1. This is where the build begins. Once you hit level 22 and get your level 7 skill gem, this is where we take Shield Wall, and no matter the class, you swap to a one-handed mace and shield. By this point, you should have a tier 2 support gem. I use this to grab Life Leech 1 for my Shield Wall. The other support is Rapid Attacks 1. Life Leech provides survivability, and Rapid Attacks just lets us get 2 walls quicker. Additionally, you need to have a good shield with a high armor stat to do more damage. Mace plus melee skills is also really beneficial, so be on the lookout for items like these even before you're level 22. The amount of armor you have on your shield is a direct correlation to doing damage. This is the best and main way for increasing damage with Shield Wall. If you are playing Monk and you ended up getting lucky and have a good quarterstaff, you can also hold off on swapping until your weapon doesn't feel as strong. I do want to emphasize here that a good shield can carry you through the entire campaign, so be sure to upgrade your shield as much as possible. Spend all your currency on upgrades for your shield only and constantly check the NPCs for better gear. Don't worry about gear too much though unless you're playing hardcore, as I kind of just slap gear on as I go and mainly prioritize my weapons and anything else that will just give me extra damage or attributes. The gameplay loop is very easy. Use Shield of Wall twice to create 2 walls, then use Infernal Cry to explode the walls. When Infernal Cry is on cooldown, use Shield Charge to break the walls. Keep doing this until everything is dead. You will also want to pick up Leap Slam once you get another level 7 gem. It is strictly used for movement around the map, letting you jump between areas that would be inaccessible, and it's just for quicker clear speed. Do your first ascendancy as soon as you can. I like to do it as soon as I'm level 22 or even if I'm like level 20 because I'm confident in the Trial of Sekhama's. But if you're not overly confident in completing the trial, you can overlevel and go in with Shield Wall around level 24 or 25 for an easy clear. For Monk, we're going Invoker, and you're taking the I Am Thunder Ascendancy point. For the gain, 10% of damage is extra lightning damage. For Warrior, we're going Titan. We're taking Crushing Impacts. You can also take Colossal Capacity here, as we will respec out of Crushing Impacts once we get our second Ascendancy. For Druid, I recommend going Shaman, as it will have a lot of buffs to Rage, and that will increase your melee damage even more. However, I can't give a too specific detail because GGG has not posted the official Ascendancy passives for Druid yet, but I will be sure to pin a comment once they do. These were my passives for both Monk and Warrior after completing Act 2. Once you are in Act 3, it's pretty much smooth sailing. Just make sure to upgrade your shield as much as you can. The damage is not super insane unless you're on Warrior at times, but it is pretty tanky as Shield Wall blocks a lot of incoming hits. From the start, grab your guaranteed Lesser Jewels Orb in the Sandswept March and use it on Shield Wall. You can input any extra support gem in the meantime, but once you get a tier 3 support gem, you're going to want to input Close Combat 1. This just gives us a little more damage, which is always helpful since we'll always be within 3.5 meters of most enemies when exploding our shield wall. Once you kill the Bog Witch, you're going to grab Magma Barrier for your second spirit gem. If you haven't already, make sure that you're using Herald of Ash, as I know I said to use Herald of Ice on Monk, but once you swap over to Shield Wall, you want to use Herald of Ash. You'll want to use Charge Profusion 1 in Magma Barrier, and you'll want to use Magnified Area 1 in Herald of Ash. Magma Barrier lets you get Endurance Charges, which lets you bypass the Warcry cooldowns, letting you spam Warcries more often. Once you get a level 9 skill gem, unlock Fortifying Cry. This allows you to rotate between Infernal and Fortifying Cry when they are on cooldown. Use your additional tier 2 support gems to add Raging Cry to your Warcries. Each Warcry at this point should have Tireless and Raging Cry. Additional tier 3 support gems should be used to get cooldown recovery in place of Tireless. Complete the Temple of Chaos as soon as you can to get your second Ascendancy points. Respec your Warrior out of Crushing Impacts and grab Hulking Form. Hulking Form basically makes the campaign even easier now, and you're good until you hit maps. If you're on Monk, I like to grab the I Am Blizzard for the extra gain cold damage, but you can grab something else like Meditate or Sunder My Enemies depending on the gear that you have. There's not really too much to say for Act 3, just make sure you're constantly checking your quest tab to make sure you're getting all of your permanent buffs. Any point of interest for that area with a plus symbol will give you a permanent buff, so make sure you're grabbing all of those. These were my passives for Monk and Warrior after completing Act 3. From Act 4 through the Interlude, it's pretty much basically the same thing. You just want to make sure that you're constantly upgrading your shield. You will find higher tier support gems, and if you haven't already, a level 11 skill gem. I like to swap out Fortifying Cry for Seismic Cry, but you can use whichever you like. The support gem setup is the same. From your higher tier support gems that you find, you do want to constantly upgrade into the better versions of each support gem. For example, Rapid Attack 1, you're going to want to take Rapid Attacks 2. By this point, you should be basically blasting through the campaign. If you are in need of a shield upgrade, I do recommend buying some gamble shields from the NPC and upgrading them if you do end up getting a good one. So this is the setup I have after clearing the interlude. I'm level 62 as you can see. We can see I have a mace with the +1 level to all melee skills. And then my shield is almost 400 armor. I ended up getting this one around mid interlude, which is very good. And then as for my jewelry setup, I kind of just throw things on. See, I got some attributes, some more resistance. So nothing too crazy, and it should be very easy to replicate. This is my passive setup for Monk and Warrior after completing the interlude. Some tips and tricks I use for clearing the campaign more efficiently are, the first one is trying to stay 2 to 3 levels under the level of the area. For example, if the area level is 25, I try to complete that area at 22 or level 23. Any lower of a level and you face an experience penalty. However, if you are struggling at a specific boss or area, instead of continuously dying and trying over and over, I recommend to go back and kill some regular mobs until you level up. This can save you time and peace of mind if you are struggling. The second tip is generally for more experienced players, but that is knowing where to go for each area. Each area you enter is almost the same every time, but the layout is rotated. Entrances and exits may be swapped, or points of interest can be opposite sides of the arena. However, Lolcohol is another content creator who's done a phenomenal job making a layout guide for all the acts, so even if you are a new player, I recommend having it pulled up while you're doing the campaign to increase your clear time and just make things faster. This leads me into my third and final tip, which is respecking your passives constantly. I've shown you guys my passives after each ascendancy along with each act, but sometimes it's better to pick up 3 to different 4 passives instead of grabbing attribute nodes when you're pathing. You can just respec out of these passives once you no longer want them, but obtain a more marginal buff in the meantime instead of just grabbing those attributes. It can be very beneficial. A lot of newer players are afraid they will run out of gold and try to save it, but there's also no point in saving throughout the campaign as you just accumulate way more gold the higher level you are, so don't be afraid to spend the gold as you get it. I've created a written guide on Mobylatics and I've included it in the description along with a POENinja link from my path of building for my level 62 monk after completing the interlude. I plan to update the Mobylatics guide a little more, so stay tuned. The Mobylatics link also only shows it as a monk, but this league starter is viable on warrior and druid, with warrior being the best. I mainly focused on monk as I plan to create a monk for the next league. It also really exemplifies how good shield wall is for leveling even if you are not on warrior. I plan on swapping my build when I get to later maps, but this will be my league start build for sure. If I missed anything or you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to leave a comment. Hopefully you found this video helpful and informative, but that's all for today. I'll catch you in the fate of the Vaal exiles.